Welcome to the Sega Lounge, a podcast dedicated to our love for all things Sega, be it the games, the music, or the community. I'm KC. In each episode, I'll be talking to different guests and sharing their projects and their passion for Sega. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 171 of the Sega Lounge, aka the finale of season 6 of the show. Another year has passed, and I just wanted to start this episode by saying thank you to all of you, our dear listeners, who keep supporting this podcast week in, week out. We've had some great guests this year and some fun special episodes reminiscing on our memories of certain Sega franchises, and even ones with full-blown versions of the Sega Lounge Challenge with a lot of people involved. To celebrate this, not only do I have another special episode to present to you this week, but we're giving away some Sega games, so do stick around until halfway through the show for details on how to enter the giveaways. But for now, what's that about a special episode? Back in June, Sonic the Hedgehog celebrated its 30th anniversary. We dedicated episode 158 to that occasion, with two teams of the Race for Good charity event taking part in a very special Sonic-themed challenge. However, as the year went on, I felt like we needed more to celebrate such a huge milestone for Sega's mascot. And so I decided to invite some friends over to the lounge, and what you'll hear now is a lengthy but fun conversation we had about how we got into the franchise, our memories of the past 30 years of the Blue Blur, and our expectations towards the future of the character and games. Please join me in welcoming Twitch affiliate Lime Reversed, one half of the Sega guys, Dan the Mega Driver, and Lewis Clark, aka Sonic Yoda of SegaDriven.com. Hello guys, welcome to the Sega Lounge. We have a panel of illustrious guests with us this week. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you. So let's start. I'm going to go through this list in the order that I have it here. So first up, Lime, hello.
Hello.
How are you? Would you like to introduce yourself briefly to our audience?
Well, briefly, my name is Lime Reversed because it's Emil, my real name, backwards.
Clever.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty clever. It works. I stream on. Can I plug myself? Is that the
Sure? Yeah, you
Like,
can say
is
everyone
that-
you're a Twitch affiliate, Lime Reversed.
Because the only other thing that I would have is, oh hi, my name is Lime, and I would not have anything other to add other than I stream on Twitch and try to 100% mostly Sonic games.
Excellent. That makes you the perfect candidate to be with us tonight and talk about Sonic, I think. I think you'll bring a different perspective to the table, which I'm looking forward to be honest.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Welcome, Lime.
Thank you.
We also have Dan. Hello, Dan. Welcome back.
Hello there. It's a pleasure to be back, Casey.
So people should know you, just like Lime. He's been on the show before, but would you like to, again, briefly introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Dan Driver, aka Dan the Mega Driver. Very creative with that
Clever.
name. Not as clever as reversing my name with Emil, but just stick the Mega in there, obviously, because I'm all about the Sega. So I am a co-host on a podcast called The Sega Guys. So you can catch us wherever you get your podcast, basically. But most importantly, if you're listening to Radio Sega, 6 p.m. Monday nights, that's our slot. So yeah. Great to be back, mate.
Great to have you. Always a pleasure. And always a pleasure as well to welcome Lewis Clark, aka Sonic Yoda. Hello, Lewis.
Hello.
Welcome. Again.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to briefly introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lewis, otherwise known as Sonic Yoda. I run a website called SegaDriven.com and an accompanying YouTube channel. And prior to that, back in the years from, I think, 2001 to 2008, I ran a Sonic the Hedgehog focused website just called Sonic Yoda. So, a little bit of familiarity with the Sonic franchise, I guess, to a certain degree.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome, and thank you for joining us as well. It's a pleasure to have you all here. So we're going to cover a few topics here, from how we got introduced to the character in the series to what we're expecting to see coming from Sonic Team and Sega in the future in regards to Sonic. So let's do this and start with that very first topic, which is how we all got introduced to Sonic the Hedgehog, our first memories, the first game we played, what we remember seeing first, or the thing that drew us in. Could be the music, the visuals, whatever. So I think we'll start with Lewis this time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we've discussed this before, because I think you asked me something similar on the episode I was featured on back. Oh, God, I can't remember where that was now, but yeah.
Yeah, last season?
Yeah. So my first introduction to Sonic the Hedgehog was the original game on the Mega Drive. I got it with my Mega Drive in a bundle with Mega Games 1 for the Christmas of 1991. And yeah, so it was one of my first games that I ever owned. And yeah, when you're young and you don't have an awful lot of games, you just sort of rinse them to death. And certainly spent an awful lot of time playing the original Sonic, and absolutely finding my ideal path through the game and learning all its little tricks and things. And
That's always
still
fun.
think it's
I
a
love doing
fantastic
that.
game. But yeah, that's very much my first introduction. I think I would have probably seen it very briefly prior to the ownership of the Mega Drive, because my uncle owned a Mega Drive during the summer and stuff, and he definitely had Sonic as well. So I would have at least seen it prior to owning it myself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was my first introduction to it, the original game.
Excellent. Yeah. My experience is very, very similar. So I'll just pitch in here.
Yeah.
I got the same bundle at the same time. I think I saw it briefly at a friend of my dad's house. He owned a Mega Drive, and he had Sonic. I think I do remember, vaguely seeing Sonic run around, and it caught my eye, but I didn't have much time to stay there, so I didn't get to play it or anything. So definitely when I got the Mega Drive with Sonic 1 and Mega Games 1, that was my first proper experience with Sonic as well.
Yeah.
I think for many people, especially in Europe, I'm guessing that was their first experience with Sonic. That Mega Drive with Sonic 1 and Mega Games 1.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was a famous bundle. Okay. Dan, what about you?
Well, my story is a little bit different, and although listeners to the Sega guys will have to forgive me if I'm treading old ground, but it's brand new to you guys, brand new to the Sega Lounge, so I'll retell the story again. But when I was growing up, my first system was a Commodore 64, and I absolutely loved it. All I wanted from as far back as I can remember is a computer to play games on. So I got the Commodore 64, and I had a younger brother. Now, obviously, I wasn't a very nice or benevolent big brother. My little brother would want to play, and occasionally, when I wanted to play something two-player like Gauntlet 2 or International Soccer or something, I'd come on, play this with me. But when I wanted to play something on my own, it's like, no, keep off. It's mine. This is my machine. So naturally, that led to him saying to my parents, I want a computer for my birthday. And yeah, in the UK, it's just a thing. Back in that time, everything was a computer. So rather than an actual computer, my mum had the Argos catalogue out and said, "Do you think he'll like this?" And pointed to a Master System 2. And I just sort of showed, yeah, probably. Hasn't got a keyboard or anything, But anyway, his birthday comes, and he's unwrapping his present. He finds this Master System 2. He's like, "Oh wow!" We play a bit of Alex Kidd, and I think, "Oh, this is really nice. This is a bit different to what I've got on my Commodore 64 upstairs. Okay, these are all cartridges. I'm not waiting for the tape to load. I'm not being blinded by the raging colours on the screen as that tape loads. Loads up Space Harrier, and my mind is blown straight away. Then see these massive sprites. It's so much more vibrant and colourful and smoother than anything I've got on my Commodore 64. Family members come over, and of course they've all got, Master System games then were pretty cheap at the time he got his Master System. And I remember he got a couple like Castle of Illusion, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is absolute garbage. And then my uncle gives him Sonic the Hedgehog. And at this point, I had absolutely nothing about Sonic. I've not been reading any magazines. As I say, I didn't really know what a Master System was. As soon as we put that game in, my mind was just blown. I was in love with it instantly. And obviously, being such a bit of a tit to him with my Commodore 64, I was trying to steal as much of a go on his Master System as I could. But there was nothing I'd seen quite like it. I used to love platformers. I'd played a little bit of Mario Brothers on an uncle's NES before, and I could take it or leave that. I used to love games like Flimbo's Quest on the Commodore 64, things like that. But when I played Sonic, the way it moved, the way it looked, the way it sounded, the way that the character came across, it just really was like nothing else I'd ever seen. And I was just in love instantly. I remember one of the first things we did, I think we got the speed shoes and we rolled off the hill and went so fast we kind of went off the screen. If you do it, we ended up in the spike pit because we didn't quite do it right. I ended up dying, but we was like, wow, we went far. And I don't think we got past the first stage for quite a while. We kept trying to reenact that for most of the afternoon, and it was just amazing. And from that moment on, I was absolutely obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog. As I said, I'd try and steal a go on it whenever I could, whenever he wasn't around, or if he was out like playing football or something, I'd be sneaking a goal in his Master System. And it became the first game that I ever completed because I was playing it so obsessively. I used to do all sorts of things, like you're saying about trying to find all the secrets and everything. There's I think it's on Act 3, and I remember this, when you're Act 3 of the Green Hill Zone, and you've got a drop, and there's an extra life underneath, and then you've got another drop, and then there's like an infinite row of spikes, and I would just spend like an hour trying to jump that row of spikes because I was convinced that there was something on the other side when there really wasn't. But it was just stuff like that. I'd explore every nook and cranny, and I was a fan from that moment on.
I think we've all got through that phase, like trying to find things that really weren't there, but you were convinced there was something hidden behind something, or especially the first one. I remember those like long lines of spikes and thinking maybe if I can just get enough momentum, I can just jump through or over them and get something that is hidden on the other side. That I ended up dying and there was nothing there, but okay. It was fun.
That's how everyone finds all these secrets these days, isn't it? It's all these people that find all the skulls or the audio logs or whatever. It's how they 100%. I don't have time for that now. I just do the main story. Bang, that's it.
And then trying to find the hidden palace zone in Sonic 2, even though it doesn't exist, but you think it does.
Yeah. Yes,
because it was in the sound tests.
And I also remember the pictures of something different in magazines at the time for Sonic 2, and I always assumed that something different was Hidden Palace, and maybe I think it was sometimes they showed like the pictures of the beta version of the game. I was convinced that was Hidden Palace Zone. It was in the game because there was the music and everything, so it definitely meant there was something else. And so I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Sonic 2, definitely. So, Lime, what about you? When was your first contact with Sonic?
Well, my first contact with Sonic was my first contact with gaming overall. That was my... the first two Sonic games was that. I remember my dad's friend, when he visited, he would bring a Sega Mega Drive and Sonic 1, and we would have fun playing that. But then Dad later bought us the Mega Drive with Sonic 2. And I remember having lots of difficulty with that. I mean, I was in basically the first or second grade, I think, like very early on. So my brother and I both had huge difficulties. Like we were proud just getting past the chemical plant zone, basically. So that was also...
I think that's something to be proud of.
Thank you. It's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Everyone should have that.
I struggled with the boss for Chemical Plant Zone back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. So now after a while, that became the first game that I also completed. And I remember because I didn't know about Supersonic. And imagine my surprise when I got all those Chaos Emeralds. And then it said something about Supersonic. I don't know what that is. And then, you just go through the game and then you jump and suddenly, what was that? What happened? He's yellow. What's going on? He's flying. What's going on? Like, that surprise was just a, oh my gosh moment for me.
That's a
It was
good
awesome.
point. That's a good point. Did any of you know about that prior to playing the game? Prior to getting the Chaos Emeralds?
Yeah, I definitely did. I had an issue, I think it was Sega Pro magazine, and I think it was the big review. For whatever reason, they obviously didn't have any key art for Supersonic, so they just sort of took the render of Sonic from the cover of Sonic 2 and recolored it yellow really badly. So I definitely knew about it. But a similar thing to Lime, I remember the first time I ever did it, my dad always tells the story of me freaking out and going, "Oh, he's gone yellow," and just the excitement of having super powered up Sonic to muck around with, and yeah, it is super exhilarating the first time you find it.
It is.
Yeah. Something else that I would want to add is I became a huge Sonic fan. Like when I and my friends, still very young, we were playing Sonic characters. And basically improvising new episodes each day we meet, which was loads of fun. And when we were playing the game, we were doing voices to the character that we were playing, and it was so fun. It was so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate to that as well. I think we all can, right? It kind of, we got into this. Really became fans of something that was new to us at the time, right? So at least for me, I don't remember any other character before Sonic affecting me so much in a good way, as much as Sonic did.
I agree.
Yeah, think about it like 24/7.
Yeah. I also remember because I haven't played any other game up until that point. And so I remember being baffled by what other games, but there's no rings in these games. How do you get life? I was like, no, like I don't want to play those games. Like there are no rings. It was it was weird.
Yeah. Awesome. So we've got somewhat similar experiences in terms of when in our lives we got into Sonic and the first games. Somewhat, apart from Dan, you started with the Master System, but
yeah, I didn't even know there was a Mega Drive version. So when I saw that, my mind was blown again.
Are you like are you one of those people that prefers the 8-bit version of the original Sonic game?
I actually do, and it probably is a bit of nostalgia bias because it's the version that I had first and that I probably played the most. But I just think it's a more evenly paced, more fun game because I think 16-bit Sonic, it's amazing. But you've got your great fun Green Hill Zone, then a bit more slower paced Marble Zone. Then you got Spring Yard. Then you go to Labyrinth, and it feels a little bit uneven. Whereas in the Master System version, the Green Hill, Bridge, Jungle, and then the second half, you're in the kind of the polluted Robotnik city, factory, whatever. It feels more evenly paced, and I just like the level design a little bit more. But that's just my personal preference, whether it's nostalgia bias or not.
So you enjoyed all of those blast processing.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think the 8-bit games are great. Especially the first one. I can see it's so different, and for people, I can see that maybe many parents bought the Master System with Sonic 1. I can imagine this. Probably thinking it was the Mega Drive. And maybe kids had that experience because their parents didn't know the difference and then went to school and talked to their friends and, oh, I got to Bridge Zone. And the kids who had the Mega Drive were like, Bridge Zone? There was no Bridge Zone. I don't know. I'm just imagining things maybe, but I can imagine that maybe that could have happened at the time. But I do think the 8-bit Sonic games are great in their own right, and the differences only make me or made me at some point want to try them as well and experience them. Although I never had a Master System, I got to play them much later. But yeah, awesome that people who had a different system could get a pretty decent, pretty good Sonic experience on their own with the Master System as well.
Yeah, it's in some sort of irony, you can now play it on a Commodore 64 as well.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just a few days ago, at the time of recording, it looks amazing. So that's definitely on my download list. So, when I get a bit of quiet time after Christmas, I'm definitely jumping into that. It's like it's like all of my childhood all in one: Master System, Sonic, and Commodore 64. Beautiful.
Perfect.
Love it.
Perfect. So before we get into like more of a larger history we have with the franchise, let's try to be brief about this. So I'm going to ask you to pick one thing, just only one thing, that you think was the key to turning you into a Sonic fan, to the thing that drew you into Sonic games, the Sonic franchise, the character itself. What was that key element that made you a Sonic fan? Let's start with Liam this time to mix things up.
That's a good question. Can I share my trail of thought before I land on the answer?
Sure.
Do I have to be? Because I think like it was a combination between the games, the series. The Sat AM one, especially, I very much loved, which made me want to bring Sonic into playing with my friends. So, yeah, like the real answer would basically be like a combination of those. But I think that if I had to choose the biggest catalyst for that, if that makes sense, it would be the Sat AM series.
Okay, good. Dan, what about you?
So the catalyst, it's very difficult. So let's have a think. So I love Sonic. I demanded a Mega Drive for the Christmas '92 to get Sonic 2, and I was absolutely completely obsessed. I loved the Sat AM series as well as a kid. I didn't like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I found that too silly. Nowadays, when I watch Sat AM, I'm not as much of a fan of the whole Sally Acorn thing, although I do love Robotnik in it because Jim Cummings' Robotnik is just perfection, I think.
Dan, the funny kids.
The funny kids. It's all about Robotnik for me. Smell that polluted air, sniffly.
Yeah.
But for me, I guess the thing with Sonic was, he was the games were amazing and they looked great. But Sonic was, I think we're all here because Sonic was cool, right? He had that look. He kind of looked like a cool. He was a cool character, but he kind of retained that sort of Western cartoon look. So it was brilliant in that way. I loved reading, his backstory and everything in the manuals and stuff. But I think the thing that really sent me over the edge was Sonic the comic.
Yeah. Oh, right. I read that too. I forgot that.
Yeah. It's unlike the cartoons and unlike the American comic, it just stuck so closely to the lore of the games, and it really just felt like an extension of those.
Yeah.
Even we would flash back in a series called Sonic's World and talk about what happened in Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. The characters were very much designed like they were in the games, though Robotnik got a redesign later on. And I've still got my issues now. I've been rereading them lately. Listening to the Sonic the Comic, the podcast while I do it, which is kind of a new experience. Listening to a pod
Yeah.
and reading the comics. But yeah, the way that expanded on the lore, the way that when new games came out, so they had a Sonic CD adaptation, then they had a Sonic 3 adaptation, and this epic Sonic and Knuckles adaptation. That just, when I wasn't playing the games, I had my head buried in there, and that was where I just got, Sonic became more than just a game and a character. It was something even more than that, and I idolized him off the back of those. Even though in the comics he's a bit mean sometimes, but but I didn't care. I loved him.
Not mean, cool.
Yeah,
that's what they're going for.
I want to change my answer to the Sonic comics now. I change my answer because I forgot about that. That was a huge catalyst. Like, I absolutely loved the story there when they introduced Knuckles.
Yeah, it's almost perfect. And I put a tweet out when they did the Sonic Movie 2 trailer, where the way that Knuckles is introduced, the sort of pattern that he's introduced in the film, really looks like the page out of the comic where you've got Sonic rushing in to attack Robotnik and then just gets smacked by Knuckles, with Robotnik laughing over him afterwards when he's lying on the floor.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, Lewis, what about you?
Okay, well, I think it's the character design, personally. Like, as much as, like, obviously the first game being my first game is going to have an awful lot of nostalgia towards me, the character. I think it's the actual draw of the character design that kind of draws you in. He's such a cool looking character. You want to know more about him.
Yeah.
You want to know more about the world. Luckily, we had all that supplementary material that we could actually dive into. Things like the Sonic the comic. Things like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. There was a Ladybird Sonic storybook, which basically sort of fleshes out like the UK canon for the character, which I used to have as well, which I was obsessed with. It's just a little picture book sort of thing, but like it very much, establishes the ground rules of that character and sort of establishes him as the, cool, edgy 90s blue hedgehog character that we all know and love, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely that iconography, I think, draws me into the franchise. It's just such an instantly recognizable character. You play the game, you look at him, and it's just like, well, that's a damn cool character, right? I want everything to do with this character now in my life. And yeah, so that's kind of why I've stuck with it, because it's just, as much as, quality fluctuates throughout the franchise, sure, that happens with every franchise, but it's that iconic character design. You think of the iconic characters in animation history and stuff like that, and it's basically how they look that really brings you in. Mickey Mouse and things like that. It's got a very similar sort of look and style to Sonic, and I think Sonic definitely draws me in a similar way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for me, I had actually thought about two things. One of them was indeed character design, because and a testament to this is whenever I see new Sonic merch, my first instinct is, I need to get that. I need to own that thing. I need to take my money.
I need it.
But then obviously I think about it as a responsible adult or something. I don't always do that, although I do press that buy button more often than I wish I did.
I feel that reaction in particular is very much a part of being in the Sonic fan base. Everybody, you see everybody just go in for everything the moment anything drops. It's like, well, I'm going to be left out if I don't go for it, right? So, and I hate that feeling because I don't like other people's opinions to force my own, but I know the feeling. You instantly get that sort of like, oh, I'm going to be missing out if I don't get involved, right?
That FOMO. Is hard, yes.
Yeah.
Indeed. I try to control myself though. My first instinct, I try to think it over, think it through. Yeah. But that's a testament to also not just the peer pressure we feel, but also the fear of missing out, but also the character design. It's so appealing still, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And when I look at the merch that I own, when I see like the figures, the things that I have here in my office right now, I'm just looking at them. They just look cool, and I'm I'm an old man now, but I still think they look cool. So that's the first thing I think that we all, as we played through the first game we ever played, Sonic game we ever played, I think that's the first thing that pops up.
Gameplay wise, it makes so much sense too. Like, of course, you should create a game with a hedgehog that then basically turns himself into a projectile by rolling into a ball in the air. That's an awesome idea.
Yeah, clever. The second thing I wanted to mention was the music, because I'm a big music guy,
Oh, the music.
and I remember the music got stuck in my head, and I was like, so I at the time when I got my first Mega Drive, so my parents were divorced, so I only had access to my Mega Drive every other weekend.
Yeah.
So I basically spent a lot of time thinking about Sonic, but not being able to play Sonic. So I usually I used to draw the levels and things that I remembered from the game and things that I wanted to try, areas that I wanted to explore when I had access to the Mega Drive again. But I remember I was constantly thinking about the music, always humming the tunes of Sonic 1. And then Sonic 2 and 3 and Knuckles. So always over the years, the music, stuck with me. So that was the second thing that I think drew me into Sonic as well. The music was amazing. The soundtrack was amazing. Not that I had much to compare it to at the time, to be honest, but it was a big factor as well.
Sonic's always had amazing music. Those 4 games are just iconic. But even when Sonic games have been, let's face it, some Sonic games haven't been that great. The music's always been phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I remember going into school humming the Chemical Plant Zone. Just first thing I did when I went back to school in '93 after getting the Mega Drive. Yeah, loved the music in those games.
And I think I've told this story before. I think when you were on the show, Lewis, I remember being afraid of the boss fights in Sonic 1 because I was afraid of the music. The music, made me afraid. I had to mute the TV to beat Robotnik in Sonic 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. It's such a visceral reaction when you're that young to have the mood change so dramatic. It definitely gives you a sort of emotional reaction to it, for sure. I don't know if I had it as much as Sonic, but I definitely have that with certain Mega Drive games in particular.
Yeah. Excellent. So I think this was a good extended introduction to how we first got in touch with Sonic the Hedgehog and the franchise. We've already mentioned, you guys especially mentioned some of the other media you got exposed to, the cartoons, the comics. So let's go over an overall look at the games we played, the things we experienced with this franchise. So who's who was a big fan of the cartoons here?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a huge fan
was at
of
the
the
time,
cartoons.
Everyone, okay. Especially Sonic Underground, right?
No,
Maybe not so much Sonic Underground.
I've never actually seen that one. I completely forgot about that one.
You're not missing much, buddy. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. I see.
I think as an educational piece, it's something that's
It's
worth
certainly interesting.
What not to do or what?
not to do. Yes. No, it's something else. Yes, it's something else. But yeah. So favorite cartoon. I think Liam already said Sonic Set AM, right?
Yeah, for that age.
Okay.
I very much loved that, but like favorite cartoon, like overall favorite Sonic cartoon, that would have to be Sonic Boom for me.
Okay. What about you, Dan?
I'd probably still go Sonic Set AM. I do like Sonic X, but I find it a little bit hard going in some places. I'd really like the adventure adaptation that it does in them, but other bits of it just feel a bit cliche and a bit cliche for anime and a bit flat. So yeah, I'd probably go Sonic Set AM. Just because of Robotnik. He's just so evil in it. I love it.
I think with this Sonic X, like the first episodes wasn't really working for me. Like there was nothing wrong with it, but there was nothing like that really caught me. But then with the adventure adaptation and like the rest of the episodes after that, I very much enjoyed.
Sonic X?
Yeah,
Sonic X,
Oh,
yes,
yeah. Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. I think it starts off. You start off when they have Sonic and Robotnik having that Eggman in the anime. They're having that huge battle, aren't they? And there's those mechs everywhere, and it's awesome. Then they go to Earth, and it just, for me, the series just went downhill from that point until the adventure adaptations, when it actually got really cool again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Lewis.
I think for me, and the one I revisit the most is probably the OVA.
Okay.
I adore it. Like, it's very strange. Don't get me wrong. It's got some odd things going on in it, but it's really memorable. There's bizarre like dialogue that just sticks in your head. The whole like strange, isn't it?
Yes.
It's but like the iconography again is very good. You know the Metal Sonic fight is absolutely just one of the coolest things put to
Yeah.
animation. I think the portrayal of Eggman in that is just spot on. I think he's so daft and silly, but really entertaining, and he's got a mean streak to him as well. Like it very much matches the games very well. Like I say, there is some odd stuff about it, but I think the odd things kind of make it more memorable. Like the fact that there is a human princess character, and at one point Knuckles gropes her. Strange thing. Yeah. They sort of crash into like an iceberg or something at some point, and when the dust clears, Knuckles is sort of grabbing her chest, and there's a moment where it's like it's a strange thing.
I'm sorry, I
but
couldn't see you in the fog.
that's basically the gag. But yeah, there's something about that. I do go back to it quite a lot. It very much reminds me of the Sonic CD intro and outro. It's got that sort of look to it.
Definitely.
Which, again, like very close to my heart. I think Sonic CD is probably my favorite game in the franchise. So, anything that will remind me of it instantly has a place for me. But yeah, it's such a bizarrely strange yet accurate adaptation of what the Sonic franchise is about. And I think I'll always find it kind of fascinating. I do come back to it quite an awful lot.
Yeah. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I really, really did enjoy it. Yes. I think my favorite was also Set AM because, childhood. But I do enjoy Sonic Boom as well. Sonic Boom is very good.
It is
very
so
well written and funny. Is it for me? Obviously not. It's for kids, but I
mean, it's for me. Like, I very much enjoy it, but then again, I also enjoy My Little Pony.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Sonic's for kids, mate. Like that's the point.
Exactly. But I don't care. If I enjoy it, I enjoy it. So
absolutely.
But I do feel like I have that nostalgia going for Sonic Set AM. That's why I say that's my favorite. The OVA is awesome as well. So if anyone listening to us never watched the OVA, please do try to find it. It's amazing.
I'm gonna change my answer like Lime did earlier and say the OVA over my previous answers. So, it's amazing. And the thing about the OVA is that it probably is the piece of Sonic media that I've watched the most, and part of that's because when I got it on DVD, whenever it came out, early 2000s, late 90s, whenever it came to the UK, I watched it a lot then. But when my children were young, they used to love watching it as well. My 10-year-old, she's 10 years old now, my middle daughter, she absolutely loves it. My youngest, not so much. She used to have nightmares about Metal Sonic and his red, scary eyes. But it is just so tremendously entertaining. It's just such a fun film, and it really just, like, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Lewis. It really encapsulates the feel of Sonic and all the other characters in there so perfectly.
Absolutely.
So, brilliant. I'm changing my answer to the OVA just because I love it so much, and my kids love it, I think, just as much.
Yeah. So if you're giving anyone a gift this holiday season or whenever, just give them the OVA. And you're set. Yeah, it's a great piece of Sonic media, I think. So
you can watch it on YouTube. It's fine to do.
That's also an option. Yes. Okay. Yeah, and the music,
Yeah.
Lookalike is an amazing. Like
Oh, yes.
the
Yeah,
poem, the lyrics to that song are amazing. Seiken Cow Lookalike, never forget. Anyway, uh, the
Never
comics
forget.
as well. So you guys mentioned the comics. So I didn't get much access to the comics here in Portugal. I recently discovered that the Sonic the comic was actually sold here in
Oh, okay.
large books with like compilations of the best stories.
That's awesome.
But I never owned them. Just a listener actually shared that with me. And I actually was supposed to post that on Instagram and forgot I need to do that. But I actually a few years ago, Danny Russell from Sega sent me a box filled with issues of Sonic the Comic. So that's my proper first exposure
Oh, good
to
old
that.
Danny.
Good old Danny. Danny's amazing. But I actually had a couple, maybe 3 or 4 issues of the Archie comics from the US, and it's something totally different. So I do understand the why you guys, especially in the UK, feel so strongly about the comic that you guys got over there. It was really, really amazing. So I'm guessing for Dan and Lewis, probably Sonic the comic was a big thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's massive for me. I remember the preview. I got the preview comic in. I think. I didn't get it. I saw it in Tesco's, and I was my mum used to leave me at the magazine bit and just do her shopping, and I'd sit there leafing through the magazines and stuff. Just she'd pick me up at the end, and I remember seeing the preview of the first issue, and then when it had the date, I made sure that I went with my mum, grabbed it from the shop. Eventually got a subscription, and I had it all the way up to. When did they start the Sonic Adventure adaptation? So the funny thing was is that I had a subscription for years and years, as long as it was running. But in 2000, so I got my Dreamcast early 2000. I got an import one because I didn't want to wait for the power release. Then it obviously got released. The Dreamcast got released in PAL regions late '99. Come mid 2000, I think it was. My mum said, "Do you want me to renew your Sonic the Comic adaptation?" And it was through this whole long story about Shannara, and it was this micro version of the universe, and they'd come back out of it again. And I said, "No, they've put off doing this Sonic Adventure adaptation for 18 months. They've changed. I'm not gonna subscribe anymore." And then I found out years later that the very next issue they'd adapted it.
Oh no.
So now I'm trying to get those comics back in my collection. I've got 6 to go now until I've got all the Sonic Adventure adaptation, but obviously they cost now a fair bit more than they would have done if I just carried on my subscription back in the day.
Shame. Decisions.
Oh,
So,
the amount of Sega related decisions I've made over the years.
Lewis, so what's the deal with Sonic the Comic for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't come into it via the preview issue. I kind of missed out on that, unfortunately, but I definitely had it from issue 1. But I never subscribed, so it was whenever I did the weekly shop with my parents, then I'd try and get one. But if I obviously missed the shop that week or whatever, then I'd miss a few here and there. So there's some gaps in my collection, but I was reading it pretty consistently. It is probably the thing that I associate most with the story of Sonic, I think, because there was a UK canon, and it kind of continued to follow that through the various novels and, you know, like I was talking about the little Ladybird storybooks and things like that. There's a guidebook as well that was released over here called Stay Sonic, which also contains the sort of UK canon in it as well. And yeah, it was just nice that there was a consistency between everything. You know, it just felt like a natural evolution of the games into comic form.
Mm-hmm.
Very much into it. Unfortunately, I didn't treat mine very well. Remember Pogs?
Yep.
I had the Pog Maker, and as you can imagine, quite a fair few of my STCs fell foul to becoming Pogs. So yeah, there's a fair few of mine that are missing covers and things because I've stamped them all into Pogs. Yeah, I have an awful lot of love for the Sonic the Comic. I did later explore some Sonic Archie for a little while, but it never really clicked with me in the same way that the STC comic did. It just had the right tone and vibe, whereas Archie felt very melodramatic and very there's weird. It's a bizarrely sad comic an awful lot of the time. Like characters are exploring their emotions an awful lot through that comic, and I'm just like, that's cool, I guess. But I kind of just want Sonic to have fights with Dr. Robotnik. So yeah, it didn't really quite click with me. So I definitely have had Archies in the past, but they're no longer in my possession, and I do not kind of regret getting rid of them, to be honest with you. But yeah, STC definitely is the thing that I widely associate with comics and Sonic. I think it's the best adaptation.
They were catering to their audience, though. That's the thing that I think is great about the STC. They knew who they were writing for. So they were a UK comic. They had not just the stories, but Mega Droid, right? All the thing surrounding the lore of the magazine and stuff. That was for the UK and for UK kids. So
yeah, I mean, UK comics are kind of different from American comics as well, in that we normally have like an anthology in our comics. So there's not just one story happening in one comic. I mean, the longest running UK comic is 2000 AD, and Sonic the Comic very much echoes that style. There's lots of different stories happening with different characters throughout one issue, and not just one comic is one story. So yeah, it makes sense that it's, it caters to the UK audience a lot better than say the Archie comic does. And yeah, you've got to remember as well, the Archie comic kind of focuses on an Archie audience, and the actual Archie comic is very much a melodramatic, emotional sort of exploration of those characters, and it kind of makes sense that it follows into the Sonic Archie comic as well, right?
Yeah. Okay. Lime, so you mentioned the comic. Was it STC, Sonic the Comic, or the Archie comics?
I at the time didn't know that there were other comics than the Archie comic, so that's what I read. I'm not a big reader overall, so like I didn't read much of it.
It's mostly pictures, though, so it's
yeah. Still, if there were only pictures, I would be happy. No, I'm kidding. But I got from the first one, of course, to the Knuckles story, and then I don't remember how much past that. But it was not that far into the comics, actually. So like I don't think, like, maybe the melodrama that people were talking about here didn't come until later, maybe, because that's not something that I recognize from what I experienced.
Yeah, maybe the longer arcs are like there's all these relationships and stuff, and the world.
Yeah.
Everything is bleak and dark, and so I think that's the thing, the difference a bit. Although there were darker arcs in STC as well. I think,
for sure,
right?
For sure.
So, but it's a little bit different in approach. Awesome. The comics were also a big thing. So we could actually mention a lot of things, a lot of different media. And I remember here in Portugal, so Sega was huge in the 90s when I grew up. There was almost no trace of Nintendo here. So we basically, everyone who liked video games either had an NES through some sort of Famicom clone device, or owned a Mega Drive or a Master System. So there were a lot of Sonic fans and a lot of Sega fans. So Sega Portugal was a thing here. There was a company that acted as Sega Portugal, and they released a lot of things. There was a Club Sega that we could be a part of. We had like a membership card as well. You got letters from Sonic if you were part of the club. Indeed.
Oh, awesome!
So if you got a letter from Club Sega, you knew there was a letter from Sonic. It was signed Sonic, and you were like, "Oh my god!" Sonic,
what would it tell you? What would Sonic tell you?
Buy games, spend money on stuff. No, it was like there were mostly promotional letters, obviously announcing games and reminding you that you could call the hotline for tips and cheat codes and stuff. And yeah, Sega was big back then here in Portugal, so I was exposed to all sorts of Sonic themed things, even those that didn't make much sense, like Pogs, for example. That was a thing as well. They made sense for the time. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we could actually list a crazy amount of things that we got or saw or experienced that featured Sonic in it. So it's basically a testament to how popular the character was and still is, but was when we were growing up. So I think that's why we also love it so much. Sonic was everywhere, basically, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll have a giveaway, by the way, during this break. So don't speed up the podcast or something. No, listen through this because you can get some games courtesy of Sega. And we'll be right back with the Sega Lounge. To celebrate our Season 6 finale, we teamed up with Sega to give away some games to our lovely, lovely listeners. Instead of one, we're having 3 different giveaways. 2 of them are region-locked, and the other one is for listeners worldwide due to the nature of the prizes. We're giving away some Sega games, and all of them are games released in 2021. We have codes for Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown and its Yakuza Collaboration Pack DLC on the PlayStation 4, one for our North American listeners, and one for our European listeners, meaning people from the PAL region. And we have Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania Digital Deluxe Edition and Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, the official video game, both on Steam and available for listeners worldwide. To enter, simply go to our blog post at thesegalounge.com/December giveaway, where you'll find 3 links for each raffle. Remember, the Virtua Fighter 5 codes are region locked, so enter only the one that's applicable to your location. The Super Monkey Ball plus Tokyo 2020 raffle is worldwide, so everyone can enter. Click the links and follow the instructions to enter. Entries close on Tuesday, December 28th at 11:59 p.m. GMT, and I will be contacting the winners sometime after that. Our thanks to Sega for providing us with the codes, and best of luck to everyone listening. Remember, thesegalounge.com/December giveaway until December 28th, 2021, of course. Merry Season 6 finale! Welcome back. We're here with our panel of illustrious guests.
Hello.
Hello.
Everyone happy with the Sonic memories? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking Sonic. How could you not
Exactly.
be happy?
Okay, and that leads me to our next topic of discussion. Memories, games, moments. Let's talk favorite and least favorite. Okay. So I actually asked you guys to think about that. What would you say are your favorite memories, involving Sonic? Doesn't have to be game related, just a Sonic memory, community wise, something like that. And then your least favorite as well, moment or game. So who'd like to go first? Let's go with Dan.
I could go first.
Let's go with Dan,
fine.
just to mix
sure.
things up again.
Like, I could go
Yes.
first, and then in case it's like, let's go with Dan. Oof, wow. Go down.
Shot.
Go.
It's hard to nail down a single one. I mean, how many
Yeah,
can I
you
go
can-
with
you
here,
can-
Casey?
Share like 3 or 4 or
I'll-
whatever you want.
I'll touch on a few. I think my friend getting an import Dreamcast, he got it a week before I got mine. We were both saving up, and he got there first. And he brought that back to his house. He couldn't get it to work on his TV, so he took over his parents' TV. And just seeing Sonic Adventure for the first time was absolutely incredible. I remember his older brother was there, and he had a friend with him, and we were playing through Emerald Coast, and we'd got to the end, and you do that run across the beach where the dolphins are all crisscrossing all above you, and his friend just at that moment just ran, wow, this is pure eye candy. And it was just we were laughing to ourselves afterwards, but because it was just such an exclamation. But he was so right. Just seeing that game on the living room telly at the time. I mean, we were teenagers back then. Was absolutely mind blowing. So I was completely, I'd never seen a jump like that. In terms of, I thought Mario 64 was pretty cool, but when I saw Sonic, on the Dreamcast, that was pretty amazing. Another memory would probably be, I've already touched on when I first played the Master System version, but I think introducing my kids to Sonic, my son's first game was Sonic the Hedgehog on my iPhone at the time. When he was about 2 or 3 years old, he wanted to do something on my phone. I gave him Sonic the Hedgehog, and he became pretty obsessed with it. And he's a massive gamer today as a result. Probably not hindered by my influence, of course. But yeah, him and his sisters all love games and all enjoy Sonic. I mean, we all watched the film together. As I say, we watched the OVA together. So yeah, I've got 3 Sonic fans here. But I think probably my favourite memory is just the lead up to Sonic 2. Because as I say, from the first Master System game, I was utterly obsessed with Sonic. And I went into school and we were, I was like, I'm playing this Sonic game, and everyone's like, they're making a second one. Whoa, whoa! So like people showing these cutouts and these magazine screenshots and everything, and I was like so hyped for it. And he's like, you can play as Tails. Oh wow, you can play as this Tails. There's Tails characters in it. So my brother actually got Sonic 2 on the Master System, and we were so gutted that you couldn't play as Tails in it, that he'd been kidnapped and that he was basically. Well, yeah, for a good year he just died in our game because we couldn't collect all the Chaos Emeralds. So yeah, that was the end of him. So I kind of coerced my brother and sisters, like, look, let's all ask Mum and Dad for a Mega Drive for Christmas. They won't buy us it for any of us singly, but if we all say we all want it, and it can be all of us. And I remember seeing all the hype around Sonic Tuesday. I actually remember it being on, it must have been Newsround or something in the UK, when it was it was showing the double decker buses and everything, and people playing it. And I was like, I have to have this. So yeah, it was the whole lead up to it, seeing Sonic Tuesday, and then I remember seeing the console on a demo pod in I think it must have been Comet in. We were out shopping once, and we were all saying, "Dad, this is what we want. This is what we want." So yeah, when we finally got it Christmas Day, we were so excited. All plugged it in, and we all thought you could play the whole game split screen and co-op. Obviously, you couldn't. Yes. So so we kept going to the 2-player versus mode and arguing and fighting as brothers and sisters too. But when it all settled down, it was just I don't think there's ever been any console or any game that's really had the impact that had. It was magical.
Sonic, bringing families together for 30 years.
Yeah, after they fight each other over it.
Excellent. Those are some great memories and moments. So, Lime, you wanted to go first. Please.
No, now I don't want to say anything. I don't want to talk now. You had your chance.
But it's Sonic.
I mean, oh, well, then we can dig it. I went into a little bit with voicing the characters that we were playing as we were playing the classical Sonic games. Like, that would definitely be a favorite memory. And like, it continues from there. I would also like to mention the Sonic Adventure series, where like playing it with friends. Like, I didn't own the game, but a friend of mine did. And whenever I would visit, I would whenever he would mention, oh, do you want to play Sonic Adventure? Yes, I want to play it. Because there was just something about that game that I was very much drawn to. It was so amazing playing as Sonic, running in 3D, in the loops, doing the homing attacks, and especially Oh, I forgot the name of that attack. But when you homing attack several at the same time,
Oh, the
Light
light
speed,
speed
yeah.
attack.
is that the light speed attack? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That one I so much love to do. I did it in all the wrong places, so I died all of the time. But I love that move. I so much love that move. And yeah, I couldn't imagine doing anything at that time. I couldn't imagine wanting to do anything else at that time. Thinking about more memories, that would actually be um, soon a year ago with Game Blast for Radio Sega, the charity stream that I did there was a part of. I had I'd previously started a playthrough of Sonic 06, so I was streaming Sonic 06, trying to 100% the base game at least, and this charity stream, this Game Blast event, just came very well timed that I was close to actually finishing that run, and so I dedicated that charity stream to finishing that. And like, first of all, it was just such a huge accomplishment. I felt like to do that, to 100% that game, and so that was an adventure in itself. But then to do it in a context of a charity stream, like doing good at the same time and realizing the power that a charity stream has to bring people together. It was so much love, um, and I got to meet more awesome people. And I just remember being at the end there, like doing the last thing, doing the last part at End of the World, where you're supposed to like go through every character and collect the Chaos Emeralds. That was the last thing that I had to do, and all my friends were there in the chat cheering me on. Basically, like the last part of Sonic Generations, where all the characters cheer Sonic on. And yeah, I got like some surprise visits from like a bigger YouTuber, and like it was just such an amazing day. I had so much fun that day, and I was just very thankful to be uh, a part of that.
Awesome. That's wholesome and awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Lewis.
I'll do one of each. I'll do one favorite memory, one favorite game. Keep it nice and succinct. So my favorite memory is probably. I mean, I have to mention it, otherwise, my friends will go nuts at me. Summer of Sonic 2008 is probably my favorite community memory. Not my first Sonic event, but definitely the one that established an awful lot of friendships that I still are going today, and people I hold dear that I have, basically known thanks to the Sonic community. It's pretty crazy to think about in the grand scheme of things, seeing as we've now holidayed in Japan and stuff together. It's pretty mad to think we met just because we have a shared love for a video game. But yeah, Summer of Sonic 2008 definitely kind of established that, and that became an annual part of my life for a little while. I attended every one, and it was always just lovely to catch up with people and have a shared space where we could all geek out and enjoy the thing that we all love. And then as for my favorite game, so I inherited a Mega CD off a friend of the family when he got his PlayStation 1. And so that was my first introduction to CD-ROM gaming. And throughout the entire time I owned that system, I'd never owned Sonic CD until much later in life. We must have already had, a I think it must have been late sort of PS2 era where I finally got a copy of Sonic CD, and it was very much like a sort of mythical game at this point in my life. I'm never going to be able to play this game, and I've read and heard so much about it because obviously there was the SDC adaptation. I've seen so much magazine coverage of the game and stuff, and never got a chance to play it. And then all of a sudden, one Christmas, my dad gives me Sonic CD for Mega CD, and I can finally play the damn thing, and it just became my favorite game of all time. Like, I think it's at the absolute pinnacle of the series. I absolutely adore it. I love the huge maps. I know a lot of people get kind of put off by how big the stages are and how kind of unfocused it all is, but I think I really enjoy the exploration. I love the time travel mechanic. I think it's just excellent that every stage has like essentially 4 variants, because you've got like past, present, good future, bad future. I think that's just so much game to pack in. And again, like the animation and the cutscenes and stuff was just a big thing. I think for someone at that point in their life, just discovering like anime and stuff, it's really cool to see that sort of style, used for Sonic cutscenes and things. I think it's a really good fit. So those would probably be my favorite memories and my favorite game in particular.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm not really that huge of a fan of Sonic CD, but I can understand why people would love it. I never actually owned a Mega CD either, so.
Oh, there you go.
But it was like a mythical Sonic game for me as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I saw it everywhere, and I wished I could have it, but no. Yeah. Okay, so those were great memories in games. I'm going to mention a few as well. So I think as favorite game, for me, it's still Sonic 2. I realize it's not the best one.
No, it's all subjective, right? Like,
yeah, it's all subjective.
Sonic 2 is a great pick. I would never say that was the wrong pick if anybody said that was their favorite.
It's basically, I definitely know it's for nostalgia reasons as well. I really do associate Sonic 2. I don't remember, for example, the first time I played Sonic 1. I don't know. I remember seeing it for the first time. I don't remember where I was, what time of day it was. I don't remember any of that. I do remember all of that for Sonic 2. So that was a very special moment. And so it still remains my favorite Sonic game to this day. So that was also a favorite memory as well. So when I first played Sonic 2, then Sonic Adventure, you guys mentioned it already. I had been away from gaming, and I skipped the Saturn and PlayStation generation. So I had been away from gaming for a few years, and then I got a Dreamcast with Sonic Adventure, and that was something that actually made an impact as well. And I loved seeing Sonic in 3D, and really, really enjoyed playing that game. Then Sonic Mania. I think Sonic Mania was for me was a return to form, was something that I wanted to see happen. I wanted to for Sega to do that for a long time, and unfortunately we only had it a few years ago. But it was really worth the wait. Brilliant 2D Sonic game, made by people who understand what Sonic in 2D should be. And so that's also a favorite memory related to games. Not really related to games. I would say the community aspect of it is great. So I wanted to mention 2 things. Summer of Sonic as well. I attended the 2013 event. Really special.
Oh, that's that one I wasn't
exactly
at. There we go. That's why we never met in person, Casey. God.
And so it was really, really special moment. So Summer of Sonic was really, really special, and a testament to how important Sonic is to many people's lives, and how friendships were made and people got together and enjoyed those moments and those memories together. That was awesome. And also it was because of Sonic that I actually became a part of Radio Sega. I found out about Radio Sega and became a part of Radio Sega. So that's something that I owe to Sonic as well. So those are community-related memories that I cherish. Quick mention as well to one more recent, the Sonic movie. I really did enjoy going to the theater and watching the Sonic movie with my wife.
Yep.
With in the day that we had like 5 or 6 other people there, and one of them was a gentleman that was probably a little bit older than me, so around his late 40s, early 50s, and was the most enthusiastic of us all. Laughed at every joke. Like the first montage of the Sega logo with all the games. He was like, yeah.
Beautiful.
And
I love
the
it.
younger people were like, yeah, I'm too cool for this. But he was like enjoying himself. He had a Sonic T-shirt, and I was at the end. I was like, yeah, I tip my hat to you, sir. Yeah, you're the real
Sonic,
deal.
not only for kids.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was a memory, a favorite memory as well, and I really did enjoy the first Sonic movie, and look forward to the second one as well.
I very much enjoyed it too. And like as you mentioned with Sonic Mania, that is a very special game. Like you can really feel, like there's something about games like you can just sense. You can't put your finger on it, but you can sense that game is made with love because it has that certain spark or whatever it is about it that you just know, and that just lifts the game up to the level that it needs to be. It is. I very much enjoy that game. The creativity that it brings. It is awesome. I
Well
love
put.
it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love everything about Mania. One thing I do like to watch sometimes. That always brings a smile to my face is the reveal trailer that they
Oh
showed.
yeah.
That the enthusiasm. It always gives me goosebumps, even though I know what's coming. It just the reaction. I think that every Sonic fan felt the same way, and just seeing it on there, I think it's there's videos on YouTube where you've got all the fan reactions and everything. It's just an absolutely beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so on that positive note, let's talk about our least favorite moments. Maybe we should have started with the least favorite and then, yeah, but never mind. It's done. So, do you guys have like, maybe this time we can stick to just one or two to not make this a really, really sad podcast. Like
everybody has a list of 10.
everybody like a whole document of moments. So things that you didn't really enjoy, maybe a specific game that made you sad, disappointed in the franchise or something.
I mean, there's a few, but yeah. No, I've got to be honest. I actually like a lot more Sonic games than I probably should, or at least what Metacritic tells me that I should do. I've mentioned elsewhere that I've actually played through Sonic 06 twice, and I'm hearing you doing it 100% is just brilliant stuff. I'd love to do that. I've played through Sonic 06
no,
twice.
you wouldn't.
I've
Dan.
never beaten.
No, you wouldn't.
But I've never beaten Mario 64. I get bored of Mario 64, but something about Sonic 06 keeps me coming back. Same with Sonic Unleashed. I still replay that. So I've got a tolerance for the supposed bad Sonic. I know they're bad. I actually beat Sonic Boom this year, and afterwards I actually thought that was okay. I didn't think that was as terrible as people. It's not a great Sonic game, but it's a very it's a buggy but fairly entertaining kind of platform beat 'em up.
My girlfriend has 100% save file on Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, so
really?
yeah, she's the ultra fan of that game.
Yeah,
wasn't it impossible to get 100%? Wasn't there like a bug or something?
Yeah, so there's to get 100%, you have to find all these like hidden trophies hidden around the map, and there's one she just can't get, but it still says 100% on the title screen.
That's it.
It's very strange.
Take that. Yeah, so I like Sonic Boom. I like Sonic Unleashed. I like Sonic 06. None of them are my favourite game. I know that they're objectively flawed, bad. but least favorite game is, and this is probably going to be extremely divisive, but Sonic Spinball.
Okay.
I just do not get on with it at all, and I've tried many times. I can't get past it. It doesn't help that I'm really bad at it. So it doesn't help that I can't get off the first table. I think I last played it this year, and I just sat down and just thought, after 28 years or whatever it's been since this game came out, it just really isn't for me. For me, it just feels like it doesn't feel like a Sonic game, and it doesn't feel like a pinball game.
Yeah.
It's just horrible mutant crossbreed between the two that just feels like neither. I can play endless Sonic games. I was playing Sonic Triple Trouble, and the physics in that are a bit wonky, or the old Sonic 4 games, which aren't great either. But compared to that, the physics are masterpieces compared to Sonic Spinball, in my opinion. I just can't get on with it at all. So probably a bit divisive, but that's my least favourite game.
Can I just add something there to the Spinball? Because I bought the Sonic Spinball, but I think I was too young to really realize what I was buying. I did not know that was a pinball only game. I just saw Sonic on the cover, and I asked Mom, like, "Oh, can I get this? It's a Sonic game." Got home and got so disappointed because it was just pinball.
I mean, sort of. It was just pinballs, sort of.
Yeah. It just never clicked with me. I didn't actually get it on release. I didn't play it until years later. But I think I knew deep down back then that I wouldn't click on with it, because when I was asked what I wanted for Christmas '93, and I didn't go Sonic, which felt like a bit of a betrayal. I went with Aladdin.
Yeah.
But Sonic Spinball is definitely my least favorite Sonic game. Difficult to pick a least favorite memory, because I don't think anything has really stood out as being that bad to me personally. But I think probably the cancellation of Sonic Extreme, because I'm a massive Sega Saturn fan and have been, and it's my favourite console of all time. And when I had one in 96, 97, 98, it was my favourite thing in the world. Deposed by the Dreamcast momentarily, but still regained its crown afterwards. But all I wanted was a Sonic game for it. And although we got Sonic R, and we got the pretty cool Sonic Jam section, the Sonic World section in Sonic Jam, just the cancellation of Sonic Extreme was just absolutely gutting for me, and really killed it. I felt like at that point it killed a lot of the momentum of the series. Adventure brought it back a little bit. And another, it's not a particular point in history, but just the way Sonic is viewed nowadays, it just feels like everyone likes to give him a kick in, especially his games. I read the Metro Online Game Central section, and whenever they review a Sonic game, they say, "Oh, all modern Sonic games are terrible, but this one's okay." And then they'll review the next one and say, "All the Sonic games are terrible." And if you, I thought you said the last one was okay, but but that's just an example. There's just so many instances where everyone says all 3D Sonic games are bad, or all modern Sonic games are bad. Just that whole perception of the franchise. I think at this point, I don't know if they've got better, and I know Mania redeemed a lot of it. But I just think the perception of Sonic, kind of it, not so much. I think it's got better now, but in that era between Sonic Heroes and before Sonic Mania, or maybe even before Sonic Generations, which was fairly well received. But I think that's probably my least favourite kind of moments when it comes to Sonic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, Lewis.
Okay, I'm going to echo Dan here with least favourite moment being the cancellation of Sonic Extreme. I was so excited for that game. I think that was the thing that was, delaying any sort of next-gen purchase at that point in time. I was like, well, if the Sonic game comes out, then we're going to go Saturn. But obviously, if it doesn't happen, then we're going to go PS1. And it never happened, so we went PS1. I just remember seeing all the preview images in the magazines and stuff, and just the concept of Sonic in 3D alone was more than enough to have me gasping for what that could have been like, you know. And I still find when any sort of fan project tries to revive Sonic Extreme or tries to do a fan recreation of it, I'm instantly attracted to those projects. I love the idea that it could still happen through a fan or something like that. And even things like Sonic Lost World, which had like elements of it, it just felt like, oh, you know, this is like the continuation of Sonic Extreme, right? I was very excited for that to come out. It turned out to not be the greatest game in the world, unfortunately, but just that there's something about Sonic Extreme. It's got that sort of mythical status to it, like I was saying with Sonic CD before, with a game that just didn't seem to ever get a chance to own, and then when it finally happened, it was amazing. And I often feel like that might happen with Sonic Extreme one day. But if it never happens, then yeah, it's just an unfortunate loss, because I think the world was denied a great Sonic Saturn game, and it just never sort of happened really. And then my least favorite game is the one that kind of killed my enthusiasm for the franchise, unfortunately, and that was when Sonic Unleashed came out. Now, not that Sonic Unleashed is a particularly bad game as such, but I remember being so disappointed by the fact that the day stages were predominantly very good, and they were not the predominant part of the game. There was so much more Werehog than there was day stage, and it just really killed my enthusiasm for that game.
Right.
And I was really let down by it. And around that point was when I closed my Sonic site and opened Sega Driven. So I was like, I'm done with this franchise. Let's go and do some other Sega stuff, right? I've got lots of things that I like.
As I remember that, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the time there was a call for not having too many playable characters in the Sonic games. Like absolutely. After Sonic 06, it was just maybe focus on the one gameplay.
Yeah.
And I remember the marketing, or like them saying that, there's only Sonic in Sonic Unleashed. And everybody was like, oh yeah, now high hopes for it. But then it was, well, it's technically Sonic, but come on, that is basically a different character.
Yeah.
Yeah. My biggest problem with Unleashed, I think there's probably the same amount of Werehog levels as there are Sonic levels. I'm playing Unleashed at the moment, replaying it on the PS3. And it's my issue with it isn't so much that there's so many Werehog levels, it's just that they're so long.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did one the other day, it was like clear time, 36 minutes. I was like, oh my God, that felt like years.
Yeah. And I think another thing that really sort of disappointed me with it was, as the day stages progress, they get the stage design gets very reliant on pitfalls later on. And like the game kind of sets it up so that the early stages don't have an awful lot of pitfalls, and it's very much pushing you to use the boost mechanics and go as fast as possible. And then that's not how you can play the more difficult stages with loads of pitfalls, because you really need to be more careful and be able to react to things a lot quicker. Because if you boost too much, you just fling Sonic down a pit, and that's the end of your life for that run. And it's very frustrating to play those later stages, because the game has set you up to make use of the boost at every available opportunity, but then you really need to be a little bit more careful with the way you approach like levels like Empire City. There's so many pitfalls in that stage, and it's just very infuriating to play. And in particular, the last stage, that Eggman stage. I've played it once in my entire life, and it took me 45 minutes. I'm never ever going to go back to that stage. It is just atrocious. But there is something kind of, I'm very intrigued to try it again with the new, they've done this frame rate patch for the Xbox version. I'd really like to see how that makes it feel. I feel like it would be a lot more tighter and a lot more responsive to play now with the boosted frame rate. So I'd really like to give that a go, but unfortunately I haven't got on the next gen of gaming just yet.
Yeah. I'm going to go next because I think it kind of makes sense. The least favorite moment that I had selected was actually the release of Sonic Unleashed, because that was when I finally realized I don't think I'm a Sonic fan anymore, which was a lie.
That's how I felt, man. That's how I felt.
Yeah, it was a lie. This is not for me. This is for like people who I don't maybe kids who like the new design, the Werehog and stuff. I was really, really disappointed in that game. Thankfully, I was, pleasantly surprised with Sonic Colors. There wasn't,
I love Sonic Colors.
a much better game on my book. But Sonic Unleashed was like the low point. I didn't love Sonic Heroes, and that was, I think, the start of me feeling like I don't think the Sonic series is for me anymore. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm in the wrong here. I don't know. Maybe these games are good, but
didn't Shadow the Hedgehog bring you right back?
okay. So yeah, that's a good point.
Love the response. Okay.
I am, of course.
I don't know what to say to that. But yeah, but I actually didn't dislike Shadow the Hedgehog that much. I didn't really love it, but it was a game. I didn't consider it a Sonic game. I think that's why I didn't hold it to the same standards as the other games. But then Sonic Unleashed really was the final nail in the coffin for me. And this is definitely not what I want to see in a Sonic game. So I think that was a particular dark moment for me as a Sonic fan. There wasn't really anything negative apart from a game was not being what I wanted it to be. I
don't think that I minded the Werehog gameplay, but I minded it being a Werehog. It seemed to come from nowhere. Like, what? Why? Like, how does that make sense? Why does he get turned into a hedgehog werewolf all of a sudden? It just seems so out of place.
I've learned not to ask questions. Just go with it.
Yeah.
The thing I've noticed a lot from playing it lately is just how much it tries to be God of War, even down to the way that it lifts doors up all angrily and you have to hit the button. Quick time events. It really feels like it's trying to be God of War for kids. I actually quite like Sonic Unleashed, but the Werehog levels do put me off a lot. But it was the collecting the medals that drove me a little bit mad.
Because you need to collect the medals to access other stages and other parts of the game and the temples and stuff, right?
That's
I
it.
played
Yeah,
the Wii version. So
I was going to mention that I actually own the Wii version, which is not the worst version. I think the Wii and PS2 versions are actually not as bad as the other ones in terms of collecting all the medals and stuff. So it was a little bit better. But then I actually got the Sonic Unleashed on the Xbox One because of the patch that Lewis mentioned before.
Yep.
So I got it on a sale, recent sale. And I played through the first few levels. When I got the Werehog stages, I was like, no. I'll just take a break and then I'll come back maybe tomorrow. Yeah, that was like 2 months ago or so.
Yeah.
But it's very repetitive. A Werehog stage is like you walk a little, and then the next part of the level is closed off. You're locked into a place with a bunch of enemies. You have to beat them up, doing all the same moves and stuff, and then you can access the next arena or something. And you have to beat them up again and stuff. So it's a bit
and listen to the exact same music.
I was about to mention the music.
Yes. It's very repetitive. So I think I've grown to appreciate it a little bit more now that I'm older. But at the time, this was a very dark moment for me as a Sonic fan. As for least favorite game, as much as I'm dissing Sonic Unleashed, I don't think it's the worst Sonic game. I don't really have any game that I consider to be really, really, really bad that I've played. I've never played Rise of Lyric. I've played one that is much worse than Sonic Spinball, Dan. Sonic Labyrinth. Have you played Sonic Labyrinth?
I have.
I have not played it played it briefly emulated. Not enough that I can form a strong opinion on it, but I can see why it would be anyone's worst. And I
I
think it
think
probably
for
was the worst
me,
review
I
game.
don't know, but for me, it's almost uncontrollable. I've played it for a long time. Actually, I think I made some progress somehow a few years ago. Was it in was it in part of as part of one of the mega collections or Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, or I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2
It
Battle.
would be Sonic Adventure
Oh,
DX. I
DX,
think you can
okay,
unlock
okay.
it.
So maybe that was it. And I think I played it for a fair time and got a pretty much bad experience with it though. So not really a fan. It would be my least favorite. I've heard people say things about Sonic games that I really don't agree. Negative things, even games that I really don't enjoy that much. Even Sonic Forces, I don't think it was a really bad game per se.
No,
Just mediocre.
I'm with you on that as well. I think it's a really robust made. You like the actual build of the game is very robust,
Mhm.
and it doesn't feel like it's falling apart.
Yeah.
It runs really nicely. Like it's quite a tight little game, but whether it's what you want from the Sonic franchise or not, I think that's
Yeah,
the thing
yeah.
that really kind of splits the fan base on that game.
I once spoke to a person who said that playing Sonic Forces was like going to your best friend's funeral, which
That
I
that seems a
Wow.
little bit
a
overblown.
little bit, just a tiny bit. So
Yeah.
I think people tend to overreact when they don't like something, which is
Yeah.
fair. But I struggle to say that a game is bad if I can find something that I enjoy about it, that I have fun with.
Yeah.
Granted, in some cases it's hard, like
Hmm.
the Werehog stages and stuff. And Labyrinth is probably the one I have the least fun with.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Lime, what about you?
Yeah, I also have one least favorite game and one bad memory. What do you want to hear first?
Something good?
Something. There's no such option. I'm
Oh.
sorry, but yeah, the least favorite game. Like, let me just off the bat say that any like anyone saying their least favorite game, like whatever it is probably gonna be divisive. Mine would be Sonic Heroes.
Oh my
I
god.
think it's fair.
Okay, yes, it's fair.
Oh my god! I recently and I have friends who has that as their all-time favorite game, and they kept telling me that, well, you're just not good enough at the game, Lime. And so I was like, screw you, I'm gonna 100% that game on stream. And so I did that.
Yes, you did.
Yes, Tails, I know that those are Eggman's robots. You don't need to tell me that those are Eggman's robots all of the time. Why is it so important for him to keep telling me that those are Eggman specific robots? And why was it so important for the writers? Why? Like, it doesn't make sense. Show, don't tell. You don't need to write that in. Why did they go in and say that, yeah, let's have Tails say that 100 times? Oh, stop.
Annihilation.
But yeah, there were just moments, especially with the casino stages, where I did not feel in control at all. It was just so, in my experience, broken in the pinball sections. Like when you roll down, sometimes I would push left, nothing would happen. Sometimes I would push left, it would go like all the way to the left, like more than I wanted. That seemed to come randomly, and I just didn't feel in control. And then when I finally got up past that pinball section and I meet an enemy, and I need a certain character to kill that enemy. And so I switched characters, but then that character had not gotten past the pinball section. And so I transport myself and the whole gameplay back to the pinball section again. And had to try to get up one more time after that struggle. And I was so done. I was so done with it. I just, I, but I had promised I was going to complete the game. But yeah,
You're
that broke me. And it just kept going. Like it was like in other stages, like the ring dash thing that would like send you flying somewhere, and it would, or like it wouldn't be like, and they map the tornado move to the ring dash as well. And so I would jump up. They like didn't really see the level of where the trail of rings were, and so like, and this actually happened. I jumped up, pressed at a moment where I thought that the trail was, did a tornado one instead, and then fell over the edge and died. Just things like that I was like, oh, stop, please. And it kept surprising me with things like that.
very
Like
clippable
it wouldn't
streams.
stop giving. It wouldn't stop giving. It was horrible. Like, and I started the stream to like try to give it another chance, because at that point I was like, yeah, it's not my favorite game. But then after that run, I hate it. I'm sorry.
And you know
gosh.
what you're talking about, because you 100%ed the game, so you actually played it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no one now can goddamn not tell me that is because I don't know the game or because I'm just bad at it. So there's nothing to do with it. Come at me, bro.
Strong feelings, clearly.
Do you wake up in the middle of the night sweating, Lime?
Yes.
When you hear, those are Eggman's robots.
Yes. Yes. Yes, of course. Take this. Take this. Take this. Take this.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh.
Great music though.
Yeah, of course.
Phenomenal.
Awesome. Like there's no playthrough that I've done with a Sonic game that I've not felt compelled to sing along.
True.
To the melodies.
Yeah.
It is, of course, awesome. But yeah, the least Sonic game would be that, just because it like kept giving me things, little gifts like that. This next like least favorite memory, it would actually be Sonic Forces. Not because it's a bad game. I definitely enjoyed playing the game. I think that this comes down to expectations for me, because now finally they advertised a game that on paper was everything that I wanted from a Sonic game. It had this little darker story, like they dared to take that route, compared to like the games before that were a little too childish in my opinion. Like I realize that it's for children, but again, so are Disney films, and like you can still enjoy it as an adult. Like that's where I come from.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, and it just totally missed the mark there for me. Like I don't know if I just like now have too much like background in storytelling and acting and things like that. So like maybe that was a part of it. But I was expecting them to like go all the way with the whole theme. Like they Knuckles said things like, well, Tails is he's not himself. That's not exactly what he said. He said something along those lines. But the only thing we see with that then later is basically Tails like going with his head down for a few seconds, and then the Sonic Generations Sonic comes in, and then it seems normal. Like they never they had such an opportunity to emotionally explore how devastated Sonic would be, still in a child-friendly way, but they had such a good opportunity to like really create an emotional moment here, and they just didn't. And there were so many things there like when it comes to the storytelling, that it was just, I was disappointed when it came to that. I did enjoy the gameplay. I didn't really like. I don't even think that the writers really thought through what the Phantom Ruby actually does. Because at one point they say like, "Oh no, don't worry, it's just an illusion." And at another point, Tails says that, "Oh no, it's a part of our reality when we're in the Phantom's Ruby control." Which is it? Like, should we be worried or not? Like, is it just an illusion or is it an actual danger? Like, it just didn't. It just
You,
wasn't
you know
clear
what the
to me.
problem is, right? Again, you're asking
The
questions.
writing. Yeah, of course. And like, I don't know what it is, but I very much enjoy the classical Sonic gameplay in Sonic Generations, but not in Sonic Forces, and I can't put my finger on why. I don't
Just
know
doesn't
why.
feel like he should be in that game. It
Yeah.
feels, well, no pun intended. It feels forced.
Yeah.
Like it's it's the same with the Phantom Ruby as well. That's a Sonic Mania thing.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't feel like it has a place in Sonic Forces. It feels like we're just trying to get those elements into the game for for some bizarre theming.
Is it,
But
is
like
it
it
like a
really, it
way
should have
to
just done
lure
its own thing.
people who really enjoyed the critical response for Sonic Mania and the fan response was amazing. Was that a way to lure people into Sonic Forces as well, with like some sort of
I'm not too
tie-in?
sure.
Not
I
sure.
always feel like it
Maybe.
might be a bit of a sort of like MCU style, I don't know, Sonic Cinematic Universe kind of thing. Try and have like an overarching thing that binds all the games together in a, which is an interesting concept, but I just don't feel like it. The Sonic franchise really lends itself to that. To be honest with you, I
Yeah.
think it needs to have little self-contained little stories, each one being its own unique little entry. I don't know if it really needs to have crossover arcs and things. It doesn't seem like it fits it very well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, so those were your least favorite moments, Slime. Thank you for sharing your strong emotions.
Thank you.
And so,
Thank you for letting me vent.
yes, that's what we're here for. You can pay me on your way out. So cool.
Yeah, of course.
So let's try to be brief in our last topic here, which is what we expect from the franchise in the future. So we have some stuff that we already know it's coming in the next year. Sonic Origins, Sonic Frontiers, the Sonic Movie 2. Um, you can mention these or not. You can just tell us what you wish Sonic will be like in the next couple of years or so. Because we've been having games and other media Sonic for 30 years. And Sonic shows no sign of stopping. It's obviously Sega's biggest franchise, as it should be. It makes sense. So they are obviously will want to continue to grow and to influence the minds of kids everywhere with Sonic. So,
Oh my
oh
gosh.
God. So, what do you think, or what do you wish Sonic will be like in the future in terms of games, for example, or whatever else you want to talk about? What do you expect from Sonic? And if you want to mention these games, that's fine. If not, just tell us whatever. Let's start with Dan. No, Dan is itching to share his thoughts.
Well, first of all, I really hope that the Sonic Movie 2 delivers. I think the first trailer, the trailer for it was fantastic. It really hit a lot of fan service in there, a lot of references to the games. I'm kind of trying to temper my expectations to say that it'll be a lot more like the first Sonic movie. There won't be as many. I kind of think of it because it's Paramount as well, and I kind of think of it like the Transformers films in a way. Even though the Sonic movie was a lot better than the Transformers films, but the Transformers trailers will show you all these Transformers and everything, and then most of the time you'll be looking at Shia LaBeouf in the film. I'd imagine the Sonic movie 2 will be a lot of the human element, but yeah, I do hope that it delivers, even if it's as good as the first. I think that would be great, and then bring in a bunch of new fans. And I think Sonic Origins comes out about the same time, doesn't it? It's have we heard anything about release dates aside from like Q1 22
I don't
or
think we have
something?
a definitive date yet. No. We were
Um,
supposed to get news later this year, so which I'm guessing will not happen.
so I'm trying it out. You can almost hear the drowning music as for that one, can't you? I mean, I'm going to pick up Sonic Origins. Obviously, I'm going to buy these games for what must be like the 13th time or whatever. I would like a few surprises in there. I'd really like Sega Sonic the arcade game to be in there, or Chaotix. It would be nice to have the remastered like widescreen versions of the games all in one disc, especially Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But I would like them to do a little bit more. But I think going forward, I know Frontiers is, earmarked for next year. I kind of just want it to be out when it's ready. I don't want them to rush a game to market. I think Forces was ultimately rushed. 06 was rushed. I think they just need to get it right. I'm interested to see what they do with the open world aspect, though. I'm not entirely convinced that Sonic will work in an open world. I think he's just too fast. You could probably sprint across the Red Dead Redemption map in about 10 seconds. So it'd be interesting to see how they manage that.
I have a feeling they're going to slow him down and make him like Sonic Lost World speed.
You'll have to hold the button to
the button.
Run, maybe.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't make it in that sense. It doesn't make it a Sonic game, especially if you're traversing a wide open world. I didn't mind Lost World, but I think that works if there's a lot of engaging platforming to do. I think Lost World kind of got that almost right.
Yeah.
In an open world, again, I can't see how it would work, but I'm interested to see.
Yeah.
Of course, it's my most anticipated game of next year. So I'm cautiously optimistic, and the fact that they've taken this long to show it, and that they're being quite secretive about it, and hopefully they'll get it right. So yeah, excited for the future. Definitely picking up Origins, and I hope that there's a few more Sonic games coming after Frontiers as well, because it feels like it's been a little bit barren, to be honest, since Forces. I know we've had a couple of racing games, or have we just had it's just been Team Sonic, hasn't it?
Well, we had
Colors.
Sonic Racing on iOS as well, Apple
yeah,
Arcade, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember 2000s where you had the GBA trilogy and the DS trilogy, and you said Sonic games coming out of your ears, and it seems like we haven't really had many since Mania. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Sonic just getting back into the public eye and hopefully finding more of that form that they got with Mania. And come on, we've got to have a Sonic Mania 2.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree completely.
I think everyone wants a Sonic Mania 2. It's madness if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, needs to happen.
Okay, excellent. Lime.
A game can be everything that I want on paper, but still not get there because of execution. So whatever they do it well and do it with love. That's basically what I would say. Like we've seen with Sonic Mania, that you just know and feel when a game has been made with love. And so that's basically what I want to see. Like, sure, do an open world game with Sonic, but make sure that you really believe in the idea and execute it well. Because, like, whatever you do, it needs to be executed in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's not going to work.
I think that's a really good point, because if you look at some of the Sonic releases over the years, Sonic Unleashed, it's like, we need to make a Sonic game that slap this X, thing in there. Let's slap a Werehog in there. I don't want Sonic Frontiers to be like, okay, we need to make a Sonic game. What's popular at the moment? Open world. They need to really pour their heart into it. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Like you said, then don't rush it.
Yeah, indeed. And like that's basically the only thing that I want to see. Like I'm open to them rethinking the gameplay. Like they did it with Zelda, and it worked very well. And like I see no reason why it wouldn't work well here either, as long as
As it's
they
done well.
execute it with love. Yeah, and as long as the love is there. Like I know that with the Zelda games, at least they don't necessarily bring in fans of Zelda because they're just gonna want more of the same thing according to them, but they do bring in mountain climbers, for example, the people who love doing the things that Link is gonna do, and so there's still an element of love there. They bring in people who love those things, who then help with the gameplay. So like that way, there's still love there. So
Mhm.
like maybe something similar. I don't know. Like I'm not an expert in it. I just know, and that like as a consumer, you notice these things. You can't put your finger on why, but it's there. Either it's there or it's not.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been playing recently Horizon Zero Dawn, finally, a game that I wanted to have played a long time ago. And when the trailer for Sonic Frontiers got out, I remember I wasn't able to not compare the two and to not think about Breath of the Wild as well. I'm with Dan a bit on this. I don't think I don't see this working for Sonic, but I don't know what they're planning. I don't know what they're really doing. What they are, how big is the world? How much freedom Sonic will have? If it's like a Lost World thing where you're only in control of Sonic at a certain speed, and if you want to speed up, you need to hold a button down or something. I don't know these things, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it, like other than how it's gonna look. Because like if you look at the trailer, it's just a world. Like there are no enemies that we see like in the world. There are no springs. That there doesn't seem to be anything there to interact with. And I'm guessing that's gonna be added. Like I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know like how fun it's gonna be just running through a world.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Lewis, your thoughts on this, please.
Okay. Well, my main thing is that I really wish that they'd actually just choose a formula and stick with it, because
Yeah,
Yep.
this is
yeah,
my
seconded.
main issue for the franchise is that like they flip flop an awful lot. They just decide on, okay, well, what's the popular thing at the moment? Let's do the Sonic version of that. We've done that a few times now. We've done that with Lost World. It was like, Super Mario Galaxy is a big game. Here's the Sonic version of that. And it
Yeah,
feels like Sonic Frontiers is very much, here's the Sonic version of Breath of the Wild.
yeah,
I would much prefer them to actually choose a style and stick with it. It felt like they were kind of getting there with like Unleashed, Colors, Generations, Forces all have the same style, and they reiterate it on each game and try and improve it. And I would have much preferred that. I would have liked to have preferred a continuation of that. Make it better, make it improve it. Just stick with the style.
yeah,
And I also felt like once Mania happened as well, that we were going to kind of get like a 2D franchise and a 3D franchise. Like
Exactly.
so I would have expected to see a Mania 2 alongside the next Sonic game, which would have been in the style of Forces, but with improvements and just again, just reiterate on that formula. Keep it like there should be an expected style when you come into a Sonic game. It shouldn't just be like, right, we wipe the slate clean every time, and here's our new take on what Sonic's supposed to be now. It's just very confusing, and I don't think it's doing the fan base any favors. It just continues to split and fracture everybody.
yeah,
So
And
yeah,
the
I
more
would.
they do it, it's the harder it is to stick to just one formula,
Yeah,
because you'll
exactly.
have more and more groups within the community
Yeah,
that like
exactly.
one sort of thing, and then
Yeah, no,
it's
it's
hard.
you just continue to fracture it even more, and everyone just gets at each
It
other's throats all the time.
makes the work harder for them as well to
Completely,
choose
completely.
something.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping Sonic Frontiers actually is a continuation of that formula, just in an open world. That would be interesting. I'd like to see how they make that function, but at the moment it's too early to tell because, like you say, the trailer doesn't really show any sort of Sonic iconography. There's no rings, there's no springs, there's no badniks. It's the things I expect from Sonic the Hedgehog, which the movie did. The movie trailer did really well. Like it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
here's all
yeah,
the things that you would expect from a Sonic movie,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
they're all in here, and it feels like they function correctly. So I'm very excited about the movie. I feel like Sonic Origins definitely has a lot to prove. I would like it to be the definitive Sonic collection. I would like it to be all widescreen versions. I would like it to be, just a really comprehensive package. I would like to see lots of extra stuff, a nice museum mode, and like bonus movies and things like that. I don't think in this day and age it's good enough to just slap a load of ROMs on a disc and have them running in an emulator front end, and that'd be that. We've done that so many times now. Like it needs to be something special. So I'm really hoping that Sonic's Origins is something special. But yeah, like you guys, it's very similar thoughts. I would love to see a Sonic Mania 2 alongside, a reiterated Unleashed or Colors style game where they improve the formula they've already set down and actually take it forward and try and think of ways to keep that consistent from game to game so they don't lose that fan base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would very much like to second that, like both gameplay wise and story wise. Like in every game, like there is like they make up a whole new world for every game, and like they first of all they don't need to do that work
Yeah.
for themselves, and like if like
I mean,
gameplay also needs
story wise,
time
I'm
to
sorry
yeah
to interrupt. Story wise, even though for me personally, the story isn't what I'm, most looking forward to in the Sonic game, but I do understand that for some people, that's a big part of the Sonic universe. They've brought in Ian Flynn, so
yeah.
that's a
I'm
positive
very
sign, I
much
think.
yeah. That was a very good news for me. I'm really hoping that they're gonna focus on that because to like make that clear. Like story for me affects what I feel about the gameplay, as well as music does. Like imagine
Hmm.
playing through a stage and there's no music. Like it's gonna take away from the whole experience. And for
Hmm.
me, story actually adds that. It adds to me a sense of urgency, and
Hmm.
that actually affects the how I feel about playing through the game as well. And yeah, I'm also I also agree with like the gameplay. Like maybe give time for the gameplay to mature into what its potential, or like I don't know like how they approach things, if they do focus groups on a gameplay, or like and try different things and then release what's best, or if they just try something and see if it sticks. But yeah, it has been very different kinds of gameplays now I feel, and I don't know if it's them experimenting but yeah.
It feels like to me like they almost get it right, and then they rush something, and then they down tools. So like Sonic
Mhm.
Adventure, I love Sonic Adventure. At least the Dreamcast version. I'm not a fan of DX because it introduced too many problems for me. But I love Dreamcast Sonic Adventure. I love Sonic Adventure 2. I quite like Heroes, and I don't mind Sonic Shadow the Hedgehog. But
Mm.
they've all got very similar gameplay. And then they had 06, which was a train wreck for a lot of reasons. And it felt like they just down tooled and said, right, well, that doesn't work anymore. Throw that in the bin. We'll do the boost mode. And then Unleashed was an okay first attempt. Colors refined it and was a lot better. Generations was excellent, and it seemed like they'd found a formula. Then they had Forces, which wasn't well received, and it feels like again they might be downing tools on it and trying something else, and I just don't think. I think they've got the bones there to create something great with the existing, gameplay methods that they had. I don't see the need for them to try and reinvent Sonic at this stage, and it's like you said, Lewis. It's just that inconsistency. You want to know what you're getting with your franchise. You pick up a Mario game, you kind of know how it's going to play. You pick up a Halo game, you know how that's going to play. You pick up any kind of Uncharted or PlayStation game, you know how they're going to play. Sonic should have an identity in his gameplay, and I hope that they do make it. They keep the boost kind of gameplay in an open world. I really don't want them to reinvent it again, because it feels like it's going to be like we're starting from square one again.
They're learning the wrong lessons, aren't they, from the failures? Like Sonic 06 being a bad adventure style game does not mean that the adventure formula is bad. It means that you made a bad game.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't just dump that formula just because you made a bad game. You should reiterate on it. Same with the Unleashed stuff, just because you made Sonic Forces doesn't mean that formula is bad. It's just that you made a bad game.
Yeah.
So it's just learning the wrong lessons, unfortunately. But fingers crossed, Frontiers actually is a reiteration on the Unleashed style and not just reinvent the wheel again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I agree with all that's been said. Basically, I am excited for Origins, to be honest, just because I'm going to play the same games for the millionth time, but it's okay.
At least you like those games, right?
yeah, I like those games. So we'll have widescreen support. We'll have some other bits here and there. Maybe I'm guessing they'll introduce the drop dash from Mania to all of these games.
That would be fun.
Yeah, probably. I'm expecting that. I would like to see some extras, just like Lewis said. Would be nice to not just have like 4 games and even some extra games in there, some secret games you can unlock or something in the style of the Mega Collection games and the Gems Collection. You could unlock stuff if you played them.
Like Sonic Labyrinth.
Exactly.
Stick the Sonic OVA in there as a bonus. That's what you want.
That would be amazing.
That would be awesome. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. As for Frontiers, not much to say. Actually, you guys nailed it. I think we don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
At this point, so it would be just like we don't know. It would be guessing. So I hope it works. I don't think Sega or Sonic Team are able to get out of this hard place where they are at the moment, with a very divided fan base, with different people wanting different things. One thing they could do, and you guys already mentioned that, is to have to appease the 2D fans, the older classic fans, with Sonic Mania 2. Even if you want to have like different teams working on different 2D games, I wouldn't mind a new Sonic Rush game. Wouldn't mind it at all. It would be nice to see one.
I think it's a sad loss that we don't have that sort of concurrent, like, here's a portable entry and here's a main console entry happening at the moment, because obviously we have the Switch now, which is both, so it doesn't really like cover that base, unfortunately. It's a shame, because I think it would be nice to have a smaller 2D game running concurrently with the main 3D franchise.
Yeah, but even release it like just digitally and for like a budget price, something smaller by a smaller team that could try something new in terms of 2D gameplay. I'll obviously have a proper Mania 2 game at some point. That would be very awesome to have and to play. And then spend more time like the core team, core Sonic team, working on a proper next-gen Sonic game that takes 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, whatever it takes to perfect it, and then you can have that too. But that's a way to appeal to some groups within the community. I don't think you can, please everyone, especially now since we've had so many experiments. It's really hard. If they keep experimenting, they'll have a bigger problem with the next Sonic game. But we'll see.
Can I just highlight that, because I hear very often people say that Sonic fans can't be pleased, and Sonic fans, they only complain. Like, that's
That's a
that's
product of
Sega.
Sega's making.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
That's Sega digging that grave. I mean, for heaven's sake, you have Pixel Sonic, Classic Sonic, and Modern Sonic. You have like all of these different versions of Sonic at the same time. You're gonna have a divided fan base. And if you do look at the history, they marketed Sonic as the rival to the most popular gaming mascot in the world. And so, yeah, there's gonna be standards. Mario games today, in my opinion, are killing it, and the same comparison is gonna be made today too, as well, because of that history. So, yeah, like the fan base is only a result of the company, or the people who make the games.
Definitely. Yeah. So that's why it's divided. It's their fault. But hopefully we'll get more news on Frontiers soon, and hopefully Origins will be something interesting. We'll have some extras, and I'm really hopeful for Sonic movie, Sonic the
Same.
movie 2. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm so much
I
looking
really
forward
hope
to that.
it's fun. It's not not going to be a masterpiece, but as long as it's fun, as it has some fan service in there, which, judging by the trailer, it obviously has. It's well written. I think that's all it needs to be. And the first one certainly was that. So if they just build on that, I think we're good. So really hopeful for 2022 when it comes to Sonic.
And let's not forget Sonic Prime.
Of course, yeah,
that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah,
That's
It's
true.
also
Sonic
coming out
Prime.
then.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to that as well. It's going to be very exciting.
Okay. Yeah.
Could
So
very well be the year of Sonic. Let's hope.
Yeah.
we'll see. So yeah, he's young, 33. No, 31. years
31.
old. Yeah, 33. Oh, not really. Okay, I can't math. So yeah. So I think we're coming to an end to our lovely conversation, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing your memories and your opinions and your expectations towards the future of Sonic. Very quickly, how can people find you guys? We have the show notes. People can go to our website and find your bios there. But very quickly, Lewis, how can people find you?
You can find me at www.segadriven.com. All the social media links are on the website, so if you want to check us out on various social media, if you want to follow me directly, you can follow me at Kronkblats. So that's KRONKBLATS.
Excellent. Dan.
Yeah, so if you want to follow me, you can follow me at swooper_D. If you want to follow the Sega Guys, follow at Sega Guys on Twitter. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcast. Just look for the Sega Guys, and of course, as I said, you can hear us Monday nights 6 p.m. on Radio Sega.
And Lime.
You can find me on Twitch and Twitter, Lime Reversed on both. I have lots of fun on Twitch, hanging out with friends and 100% games. Most often Sonic games. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. So do check these guys out. Thank you again, guys, for coming on the show, for sharing your memories with me.
Thank you. It was lots of fun.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you so much for listening to this special Sonic-centric episode of the Sega Lounge. Thanks again to Lime, Dan, and Lewis for joining me. This episode was a bit longer than usual, but I just couldn't bring myself to cut much of the content of our conversation, as I think some very good points were made and some awesome memories were shared. If you'd like to join the conversation, feel free to tweet your favorite Sonic memories at the Sega Lounge. I'd love to know what made you get into the Sonic franchise. And just like that, it's time to close the doors of the Sega Lounge for the year. We need to restock on those Golden Axe potions, do our annual spring cleaning, although I guess it's more of a winter cleaning, and just take a breather and think about what comes next. I'd like to thank every single one of you for listening. Remember to spread the word about the podcast. And here's a special shout out to Resident SD of Radio Sega, who's been in charge of airing new episodes of the show on the station. Proper legend. Whether you've been listening on Radio Sega, on our website, or through your favorite podcasts app, thank you very, very much. And be sure to visit thesegalounge.com if you'd like to find more details on each episode. For now, it's time to say goodbye. Take care of yourselves, stay safe and healthy out there, enjoy some video games, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye! The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Find them at opussciencecollective.bandcamp.com. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Follow us on Twitter @thesegalounge and like us at facebook.com/thesegalounge. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. A Mixed On Productions podcast.